Welcome to the CCTA Wake Up Call Show, and thank you for joining us. And again, I thank you for visiting our sponsors and supporters. My name is Bob Griswold.
Mary Griswold.
Patty Monachino.
Pat Park.
Kim Fink.
Glenn Fink.
Well, again, welcome. We have, again, as you heard, we've got a special guest. Patty is, she's a neighbor of ours, and actually she at one time was up in the New York area, which is where I grew up, full disclosure. I don't think any of us missed the snow, but no, okay. No. So the reason we brought Patty on, Patty, you have had quite a few exciting events in your life, and mostly dealing with, I'm going to back up just for a second. We have an event today. We're recording on Wednesday, and today is the 20th anniversary of that wonderful girl called Katrina visiting New Orleans.
Yeah.
And next week, and actually next year, is going to be the 25th anniversary of 9/11 happening. And Patty happened to be there at 9/11 within the buildings. And so we've invited her on the show to help give us a little bit of the background. And sorry, we're actually late starting because she was talking. Okay.
One of the things that I'm interested in hearing about, there's a person that I encountered in my research about 9/11 named Rick Rescorla. And I was very impressed with him because he understood that there would be a second attack and was doing evacuation drills, which I'm sure were loved by the employees when they had to march down all those stairs, and just was responsible for the fact that a lot of people made it out of there from
Morgan Stanley.
Morgan Stanley when a lot of people didn't make it out from a lot of other companies. And Patty was working for Morgan Stanley at the time. So Patty, let's start off just talking about that day, the events of that day.
Okay, the events of that day. It was a beautiful sunny day. I was on my way early because I had just finished preparing all the books. We were having a branch managers meeting in Chatham, Massachusetts, which I had already done. And my boss, John Olson, who was the regional director of the Eastern Seaboard, he was away in Sweden. So I did everything while he was away. And I usually went to the venues prior to our meeting so that I knew everything was in check. But he had asked me to stay, and he was coming in on 9/11 that Monday, or whatever the day was. He was coming in, and he said, "Patty, you can take a car. Don't worry. I have to see I made books of what each branch had in production and so forth." And he said, "I just want to check the books and make sure, and if there are any changes, we could do it at the business office at the venue." So I said, fine. So I woke up early because I knew I had all the books packed. I had everything ready, had one out, and it was in my mind. I've got to do that, so I went early. I lived in Brooklyn, and it only took me 20 minutes to get to the World Trade Center. Took the express bus, and there was not a cloud in the sky on 9/11. It was bright blue, and when I was walking to the bus, and then when I got out, it was kind of eerie, because on the bus, I was saying, I feel like a buttered roll and coffee from the vendor. And when I got out, the market wasn't there, and the vendors weren't there. But it was a bright blue sky. I said, well, I'm going to walk all the way down. I usually would get off the bus and go underneath where all the stores were and everything else, and then go up. But I decided, it's so pretty. I want to just stay out and breathe the air. And I was disappointed that I couldn't get my buttered roll, but it was kind of eerie because no one was setting up. I said, I know I'm early. It must have been maybe about 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, wow, So I went down to the cafeteria that Morgan Stanley had, And I got a breakfast, but it wasn't my buttered roll. But, and I went upstairs to the 69th floor. That's where our offices were. And I had part-time help hired so that the books and my 2 assistants were there. And they came in around 8:30. And my boss had given, every time he went away, he came back with gorgeous gifts. And there was a beautiful gift on my desk. And the girls had their gifts. And we were just sitting around having a wonderful time and just going here. And I thanked the part-timer that we had hired. And I says, I think you can go. It's just fine. I signed her. She left. Thankfully, she left. So we're sitting there. John walks in. There was a boom. It was the first tower when he walked in. And it was Tower 1 that was hit by the plane. I looked out our window. Our offices were gorgeous. I mean, I had views that were unbelievable. I looked and I saw flames of paper going up, not down, but flames just riding around. And I said, wow, this is nuts. And then another person from another district came running in, and she said, there's smoke in our office. So I was the captain, the fire captain, the warden, who got everybody for all the fire drills that Rick Riscola had done. Blew my whistle, got everybody out. It was rote. We knew to do things blindfolded. But Patty stayed after I said, go, 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 go down the steps. And it was the other regional director who said, Patty, get your down here. And I said, I'm waiting for John, because he was in the bathroom. I'm waiting for John. He said, John's coming. I want you out. So they pushed me down the steps. The steps were easier. I was in the 1993 bombing where everything was smoke-filled. The steps were easier to negotiate because the way he painted it, it was bright. We could see where we were going. It was early in the morning, so it wasn't as crowded as the 1993 bombing. So we were going down the steps and in an orderly manner, and I'm saying, I thought I saw a blimp. Maybe the blimp hit the other building. What was going on? And people were on their phones at that time, and they're saying a plane hit. I said, how silly, a dumb plane, not thinking of what was actually going on. Now, when I came down to the 44th floor, you had to cross over to continue to go down to exit. You cannot keep on going down that one stairwell. So I was going down, and there was Rick Riscola with his microphone. Rick was saying, leave the building, leave the building. And he started singing, God Bless America, leave the building. So I was listening, and I waved to him, and I went towards the exit. An announcement comes on. Tower 1 is being evacuated. Tower 2 is secured. You all can go back to your offices. I'm going back to see John, who I left upstairs on the 69th floor, and my present. I wanted to see what it was. So I'm waiting, and the elevator started working, and I'm in an elevator bank, and people crawled in. There was one spot left for me to get in. And I saw some people that I knew, and I'm nodding. And I'm going in, and someone pulls my arm. And she says to me, don't you remember 1993? You've got to run. So I looked at her, and I said, I have to see John. I have to go up to see John. And she made me turn that my foot left the elevator door closed, and the plane hit. So I was thrown to the floor. It started to really go right over. I thought we were falling right over. And the ceiling was cracking, and one of the men just went on top of me to try to shield me, and people were lying all over. I finally, he was okay, but he was still on the floor. I got up and I knew it was all smoky, and I felt like, I think like little shrapnel, because the big elevators, and my ears were ringing, they were still open. You weren't allowed to take an elevator to go exit. So I felt like I had little cuts here, and I ended up with something with my tooth, and it was like crazy, and the ringing, but I knew I had to get across the hall to get out. And then when I was there, I was still shaken up. I was going over bodies, believe it or not. People were still on the floor. And I looked up, and it was the HR, one of the HR young men, and I thought it was my niece's boyfriend. I'm going, what are you doing here, Sean? I was probably in shock. And he said, Patty, it's me, John. His name was John as well, from HR. We're going to run. I said, oh, sweetie, I'm too old to run. I said, you know, it's okay. He took me by the arm. And by the time it felt like I was sliding down a banister. That's how fast we were going. And when we got to the level where the plaza was, I saw things I shouldn't have seen. And the firemen were coming up, and I was thanking them for their service. And they were telling us to run. They weren't telling us to walk. The last time it was like walk, walk, and they were telling us to walk out towards Liberty Street. Walk, run, run, run. So we kept on running. Now I'm in the plaza, outside in the front, not where the world was. And I'm looking, and people were jumping. So they had to push us back. And I was looking for my boss, who was on 69. And I said, has anybody seen John? I don't see, again, he's big enough that you could see him, but I didn't see John. And they pushed us back about a block so that, they can, you don't see as much. And I was telling this nice young man, I was in 1993, this is just gonna be just so fine. Don't worry, we're gonna go back into our offices. We'll see what needs to be replaced and everything. It'll be okay. I said, God bless those buildings, and my building collapsed right in front of me. Again, I had to run because now I had an avalanche of I don't know what coming straight at me. He was taking off his shirt to cover me because the dust was already there. So we ran over, and it was crazy. Ran over the Brooklyn Bridge, and it was pounding so much with so many people that he said, what happens if it falls? I said, we'll break. We'll swim if the bridge. And then, and going over, my brother's office was there. So I ended up, but guess what? There was a whole bunch of children celebrating the demise of the towers and dancing in my face.
Since 1952, the North Carolina Fisheries Association has been working to ensure access for fishermen and consumers to enjoy fresh local seafood. The North Carolina Fisheries Association is for fair, science-based fisheries management for commercial and recreational fishermen. If you agree with this philosophy, become a member. For more information, log on to ncfish.org. For fresh North Carolina seafood, there's no better place than B&J Seafood, Highway 70 East in New Bern.
Dr. Jay Singleton and his staff spend a lot of time removing cataracts, and they are good at it. Dr. Singleton has been doing a high volume of these procedures for 15 years, and the state-of-the-art Singleton Surgery Center is bringing costs down for patients and participating insurance companies. For dedication, experience, and convenience, you can trust the Singleton team. Dr. Jay Singleton and the Singleton Vision Center is conveniently located at 3515 Trent Road in New Bern.
Just who are these people doing this CCTA program? People in the community that love this country, to protect individual liberty, and to preserve the U.S. Constitution and free enterprise system. To learn more, go to cctaxpayers.com. That's cctaxpayers.com. Join Coastal Carolina Taxpayers Association and make your voice heard.
Thank you for listening to the sponsors and supporters. Patty, would you please continue with the story and again?
We would like to know what happened to John.
Okay. John was on the 69th floor when the plane hit.
The plane hit on what floor?
The plane hit on, I believe, the 74th or 75th floor. We were on the 69th. Our main entrance to that office on the 69th floor was already in flames when he walked out of the office. My son, Jeff, had called the office, and John answered, saying everything is fine. So, the other offices, the computer offices, yelled out at John, because he was the only one left, because I made sure everybody was out, that there was a construction in a closet, stairs that went outside. So, and they were going to meet him because they could get to the same construction set of stairs. He had to, from the 69th floor, go down these brick steps, construction steps that were cracked, where he had to jump a couple of times because of the swaying of the building. Yes, he made it down, but he never wanted to come back into the city again, and he never went up past the first floor if you made reservations at a hotel. So that was it.
He was traumatized.
Yes, he was traumatized, but we had temporary offices in Morristown, New Jersey, and I worked there with him, and we ran the branches through Morristown, and then Morgan Stanley says we had to come back. So John said, nope, I'm not coming back, and he offered me a job, and I said, I can't come all the way to Morristown. And I said, no, I'll go back. And I had various positions in Morgan Stanley until I retired.
I want to go back to Rick Rescorla.
Good.
Because I think he is one of the heroes
He is.
of that day.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, from the research that I've done about him for Right Wing Granny, he understood the Muslim mentality enough to know that they were going to hit again.
Revenge is served best when cold.
And Patty, I know that you had referred to it earlier when you couldn't get that buttered roll and
Yeah.
whatever else, and the street vendors weren't there.
The street vendors weren't there. Nobody was there, and they're always up there early.
Were the
They
vendors-
knew. I guess my daughter was a school teacher in Brooklyn downtown. Half of her school was of Muslim. They weren't in school. The
They
children.
knew.
They knew. I had, as I said, these teenage boys jumping in my face, yelling out things that I swatted at them and said, you know.
They were celebrating.
They were celebrating the demise of the towers.
And these are the same people that are selling you your buttered biscuit and coffee every day.
I know. What can I tell you?
But Rick did your security drills.
Rick, from the 1993 bombing, made sure he wanted Morgan Stanley to leave and go to Westchester. He knew in his heart, and he told his friend, that they're going to hit again, and it's going to be by air. I know they're going to hit again. I just feel it. So Morgan Stanley would not listen, and he had drills. We had drills every month, and it was really, and then he had the fire department. We had, one time we had to go all the way out and take attendance and then come all the way back. But we had to go down the 88 flights by ourselves. There's no elevators, you know, and where to stand, where to sit, where to go to check in to see if you were okay and so forth. We had all that all set. And he did this as a routine. Each department had a fire captain, which I had. I had a hat, I had a flashlight, I had a whistle, and we had meetings ourselves. And I had to report if someone wasn't, you know, some of these men were so busy. Yeah, you know, no, you have to get up and know how to get out of here. And he was adamant about that.
Think about the hand of God on you that day, and the fact that somebody pulled you out when John was still in the bathroom.
It was a guardian angel because I never saw her again. I didn't know who she was.
It's interesting, too, there was another man who knew this was coming, John O'Neill.
Which was Rick Riscola's friend.
Now, John O'Neill is an interesting character. He retired from the FBI in August of 2001. He retired because of internal friction within the FBI and because he was very focused on bin Laden. He felt that bin Laden was going to strike again, and this was causing friction among his buddies at the FBI. They didn't believe him. His next job, he started August 23rd, 2001, Chief of Security at the World Trade Center. And he was another one who understood what was coming. Unfortunately, he also died on 9/11. They found his remains on Liberty Street. And so there were people who understood that this was a threat. And I have a question. Have we learned anything from 9/11?
No.
No, I don't think so. Because when you see all these students who say death to America and burning the American flag, I can't tell you how enraged I am. I'm enraged that I want to pick them all up, make them go, and see how life is there. See if you're going to be happy there.
Well, it's interesting that there was, I forget the city, but there was a gay pride parade planned, and it got canceled because of a pro-Palestinian Muslim demonstration. And you really don't want to try to have a gay pride parade with a Muslim demonstration. And there is someone, and I forget who it is, who was offered $1,000 to the first person who will organize a gay pride parade in Gaza. So far, he hasn't had to pay his money.
We went almost exactly a year later. It was our 25th anniversary. And we went to the 9/11 site, and our anniversary is the 15th of September. So it was a year. And the wooden bridges and the tunnels were still there for people to go and pay their respects. But what impacted me so greatly was there was pictures all over the place of people that they were still
trying to find people.
And handwritten notes of children, and I mean,
It's heartbreaking. My husband was commissioner at the time, and he had to collect DNA to try to find people for these, and he gave out checks to a lot to the Cantor Fitzgerald and Morgan Stanley executive wives that they didn't make it down. To pay the mortgages and help out. So the city really did do a good job with that.
One of the things that I thought was really overwhelming was that day as everybody was leaving, and again, our daughter also lived in Lower Manhattan at that time and was actually working uptown, so she couldn't go back home, but she quick got through to Mom and said, "I'm okay." But the thing that was really overwhelming was kids at schools out on Long Island or in New Jersey. The schools could not release those children. They had no idea whether they had parents anymore.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, I
the
remember
parking
that.
lots, the commuter parking lots
they were filled.
with the cars that nobody ever collected. I mean, it was a profound event.
Yes.
It really was. And we need to keep in mind that there are people who hate us.
But like Rick, I feel they're coming again. I really do. And this time it's going to be worse. It's
Well,
not
why-
going to be just plain.
Why do New Yorkers want to vote for a Muslim for their mayor?
It's beyond my belief. And I said, if they do it, God bless them. And they'll be,
Good luck.
yeah, good luck. Good luck, because it's horrible.
His latest thing is he wants to get rid of misdemeanor crimes.
Oh, yeah, everything. There'll be
No prisons.
It's going to be lawlessness, and we'll see a lot of communism come back, and see how they like it.
But it's destruction from the inside, which has always been part of their intent and agenda.
Yes, it is. It is.
Wasn't there a movie a million years ago called Escape from New York? Where New York was totally...
I heard a rumor that a lot of these big companies, including the New York Stock Exchange,
They've already moved to Texas.
is moved.
They've
Moving.
already set up serious headquarters in Texas. I don't know that they've moved out of New York yet.
No.
But they have set up...
Yeah, if he gets elected, they're out.
Well, there was, the drain started after they went after Trump
Yes.
Yes.
in that
Yes.
phony
Oh, yeah.
inflated values case that Letitia James did.
Right.
Because they said, particularly the real estate people, well, if they can drum up a case like that against Trump, they can drum up one
For
against
anybody.
us.
Yeah.
Even though Kathy Hochul came out and said, now, nobody needs to be nervous. This is just for Trump.
Sure. Sure. And I have a bridge that I want to sell you too.
Right.
In the desert, right?
Yes.
But it was something, it was a lesson we haven't learned from.
No.
By the way, I'm going to even roll back the time clock a little bit on Rick Rescorla, because for folks that have seen the movie We Were Soldiers, starring Mel Gibson, it was all about the Battle of Adrang, November, I think, 14th of 1965, that we know Joe Marm was the Medal of Honor recipient from that battle. The movie We Were Soldiers was all about that battle and everything that went wrong there. Rick Rescorla was one of the participants in that battle also.
And there's another movie, The Man Who Predicted 9/11. The History Channel used to put it on 9/11 all the time. And it goes with Rick Rescorla, how he started as a young man and where he was and the battles he fought and coming to America and so forth. So it's really good, and I helped collect some of the survivors, and we're on for the 9/11 part, for the day, as to how it affected us. But a lot is Rick Rescorla.
I want to mention that President Trump has awarded the posthumous Presidential Citizens Medal to Rick for his efforts in saving the people. And he was not an American, he was a Brit.
I was at one of his honorary celebrations.
At Professional Auto Service, keeping vehicles in top form and running well isn't just their business, it's the passion of folks who work there. If baling and wire and duct tape is good enough, don't go near them. But if you take pride in your vehicle and reliability is important, go to 2215 Country Club Road in New Bern and let Professional Auto take care of your vehicle. You'll be pleased. That's Professional Auto Service, Country Club Road, New Bern.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Since 1952, the North Carolina Fisheries Association has been working to ensure access for fishermen and consumers to enjoy fresh local seafood. The North Carolina Fisheries Association is for fair, science-based fisheries management for commercial and recreational fishermen. If you agree with this philosophy, become a member. For more information, log on to ncfish.org. For fresh North Carolina seafood, there's no better place than B&J Seafood, Highway 70 East in New Bern.
The County Compass is a rapidly growing, free weekly newspaper throughout eastern North Carolina. At the County Compass, we believe small business is the future of our great nation. Many small business owners have discovered that an ad in the County Compass each week is the most effective, the most affordable way to reach thousands of readers from all walks of life. At the County Compass, we focus entirely on local and regional news, coverage of important issues that directly affect your life. At the County Compass, we love our readers and we love our advertisers. This Thursday and every Thursday at more than 750 distribution points throughout eastern North Carolina, pick up your free copy of the County Compass newspaper.
All right. Well, again, welcome back again. Thank you for listening to the sponsors and supporters. Patty, do you want to bring?
Okay, I'll continue with how things are today, and preface going back from 9/11, how things have changed for me, how I feel about the country. I'm very disappointed, very disappointed. I feel that Obama is a Muslim, wanted to destroy our country, wanted
Agreed.
socialism. He had papers that supported his socialism. And he was the first president to really divide black and white. I saw it coming, and it was so distressing to me. And the schools changed, and the teachings changed. And I'm looking all around, and I'm just not understanding what's happening to our beautiful country. What happened when we all, with 4th of July, we were so thrilled. We were here, the flag, and it's gone. It is, the young people of today do not have any allegiance to the United States. And
Not
I don't
proud
know.
to be an American.
They're not proud.
They did a poll recently, and it was devastating. Like 54% of young Americans aren't proud to be an American.
But I think the follow-up to that, without taking too much time away from Patty, is that if you ask them, where would you go that would make you proud? I think that would stump them.
Yeah.
Yeah, where could you
They're
go?
all going to say Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And that's for the gummy bears.
They think Sweden is a perfect socialist, and they're not a socialist country.
No, they're not. It's just, it's a different world. And I think the Democrats have really, really made the ship almost go under. Our ship of the United States was almost under, and it took Trump. He's trying so hard. He has so much to right this ship, and he couldn't do it in his first term because they were busy trying to really kill him. Mm-hmm. And now he came in with guns blazing. He wasn't going to let anybody stop him. So I see the ship righting up a little bit. Our economy still has to get up there where everybody feels better, because a lot of my daughter in New Jersey said, Mom, my grocery bill is still high. They don't feel it yet. And I feel, especially the blue states, I see a little bit in ours, a little discount. And of course, our gas is much cheaper than New Jersey gas. So, but you get a lot of these younger people that they've been taught to hate America. They have been taught that we're bad, that our values, Catholics, are no good. Right to life, having a baby is expensive and horrible.
When we were talking about Common Core, one of the things we looked at was the U.S. history, the advanced placement U.S. history course. And one of my granddaughters who took the course made the comment that the teacher early in the semester said, if you don't know what the answer to the question is, it's probably racism.
One of the things, and this is, probably 12, 13 years ago now.
Yes.
I don't know what is in the advanced placement now, but I personally went through it page by page, lesson by lesson, and took it to our state representatives and pointed out to them what was being taught. We had meetings with the superintendent of public instruction at the time and showed her what was in it, because she was challenging us with, well, where did you get that? And it's like, well, it's right here. And she was surprised. But at the time, there were no heroes. And that was my biggest takeaway. There were no heroes because Barack Obama was president at the time. He was not in the advanced placement U.S. history because he's a hero.
Yeah.
You know who else wasn't there? Ben Franklin wasn't in there. We couldn't have any heroes. Frederick Douglass wasn't in there. You couldn't have it was all about victims, and that was how our kids had started to hate the country. The white man came in as the conqueror, colonialist, capitalist,
Slave owner.
right. And the kids right now, I see it with hating the Jews, but if you ask them why they hate the Jews, they can't tell you.
No.
They're taught to do this. And I think that that's what's going on with a lot of the Muslims as well, is they're taught to hate us, and they're taught that in order for their scripture, their biblical prophecy to come true, we have to be destroyed, the Christians. So
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one thing to teach American kids to take a certain view of our history. It's another thing for the Muslim kids to be taught this is what your Bible says.
yeah.
That's a total different ballgame right there.
Well, I think it's all indoctrination.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm also amazed that when you look at the current underprivileged kids, because they only have an iPhone that's 3 generations back, and their iPad and all of the modern inconveniences that they have, they don't see what progress has been made through history, and they equate something that happened 150, 200 years ago with, well, you're responsible for that 200-year-old thing happening, so you have to do a reparation, which means I need to empty my wallet into somebody else's wallet.
I'm not paying reparations.
Yeah, nor
I want reparations.
nor am I. That's right. And somehow they equate the fact they don't realize that yes, we've progressed or regressed as a society in certain areas, but we're not responsible for every past ill, nor can we make up for every past ill.
I still maintain that the worst group of people in this country still is the Indians, the indigenous Indians. They are still suffering, and they have been held back.
They've been terrible.
A lot worse than any of the black people have.
They were here before us, and yet we don't give them the right to vote.
Yeah,
We don't.
we haven't
take
treated
away,
them well.
We don't treat them well.
I agree.
I
Not at
think
all.
the most ironic thing I ever saw, and it was a meme, and it was a college kid sitting at a table somewhere, like a sidewalk cafe, drinking their Starbucks with their iPad and their cell phone, complaining about capitalism.
Right.
Right. Right. Or going to the soup kitchen and the ladies coming through with their hair in braids and all their jewelry, and their nails are done and their iPhones, but they're coming through the free food line.
Yeah. We've set up almost a class system. We've redone the plantation to the point where you can exist on welfare, and you can exist fairly well on welfare, but we don't give people the pride of accomplishing something on their own.
You can't give people pride.
Well,
But
you get pride when you accomplish something on your own.
But if they took away the achievement by saying everybody's a winner, no. They wanted to take the school grades away. But what do you try to achieve if you have nothing to achieve? I'm going to get an S, satisfactory. Everybody's getting an S. It doesn't make sense.
They take the valedictorian away.
Yes.
I love the story of the guy whose daughter came home from college and said she was a socialist, and she had beautiful grades. She was an A student. He said, well, if you're a socialist, how'd your friend Susie do? Well, Susie didn't do well. She partied all the time, and she barely passed her grades. I think she has a C average. Well, are you willing to take your A and give some of that to Susie so she gets a B? No, of course not. I worked for my A. She didn't do the work. then you're not a socialist.
Yeah,
Welcome to
right.
capitalism, yes.
Yes.
That's a perfect
That's
example.
perfect.
Well, I've heard the analogy too about the dad that took the bag of Halloween candy. Oh. Right.
I didn't hear that.
I get 20% of that, it's my taxes.
I like that. I'd take all the chocolate.
And there was another one where a little kid came up to a person and said, they were talking about giving money to the homeless person on the street for food. And the little kid was concerned about this and said, why don't you give money to the homeless person? And the person said to them, well, if you mow my lawn, I'll pay you $10 and you can go give that $10 to the homeless person on the street. And the little kid said, well, why doesn't the homeless person mow your lawn for $10? And the guy said, welcome to the Republican Party.
Now, how do we relate this? How do we relate this to, again, post 9/11? We unified as a country for a short period of time. Are we in a mode right now to reunify?
I think President Trump is trying his darndest to beautify America, make America safe. All these, I think there are a lot of terrorists that have come in through the one who was in a coma, who I won't mention, and other than the illegals. And they're not numbered. We don't know where they are.
I agree.
And they're the ones that have infiltrated and make you look as if they're the nice person next door. Meanwhile, they're cooking up something.
They're sleeper cells.
They're sleeper cells, and they're all over the country. I just feel it.
And we still experience what's called TDS, Trump derangement syndrome.
I know, those poor people.
Again, Glenn, as you mentioned about to one of the socialist children, name a better place. So name something better than what he's been doing here.
That's right.
I pray that with the ICE that they try to get some of these people, maybe the FBI or the CIA, if they get better, we can really forestall, the future and have a better country.
What's the largest gun shop in Craven County? If you said East 70 Pond, you are correct. Since Drew got back from the most recent gun show, new guns have been pouring in faster than they can open the boxes. A large showroom at East 70 Pond, slam bam full of firearms, new guns and used guns, long guns and handguns. You will find weapons for self-defense, hunting, target shooting, and collectibles. The team at East 70 Pond is friendly, courteous, and knowledgeable, especially in the area of guns. If East 70 Pond doesn't have the gun you are looking for, they'll try to find it. If you want to do a gun transfer, East 70 Pond will help you do it right. If you are looking to buy, sell, or trade a gun, there's no better place to do it than East 70 Pond. Of course, East 70 has tools, electronics, trolling motors, and a great selection of jewelry. But their specialty is guns. And we're talking hundreds of guns. Come see for yourself. East 70 Pond, across from Craven County Fairgrounds, New Bern.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
At Professional Auto Service, keeping vehicles in top form and running well isn't just their business, it's the passion of folks who work there. If bail and wire and duct tape is good enough, don't go near them. But if you take pride in your vehicle and reliability is important, go to 2215 Country Club Road in New Bern and let Professional Auto take care of your vehicle. You'll be pleased. That's Professional Auto Service, Country Club Road, New Bern.
Welcome back again. Thank you for listening to the sponsors and supporters. Mary, you wanted to bring up...
I wanted to share a story from many years ago, maybe 12 or 13.
Don't mention the years, but it was Norwood Airport.
There was a car rental person. I don't remember why we were renting a car, but whatever. And we got into a conversation, and I said something about being proud of your children and their achievements and stuff like that. And he looked at me and he said, that's a very Western idea. In my country, we want our children to be martyrs. And I had no answer for that. And evidently that he was living in America. I assume he was legal because there wasn't the illegal problem back then that there is now.
Wow.
And it's a little bit scary to think that there may be people in the country raising their children to be martyrs.
Yeah, we don't know. Again, we experienced that. We didn't think anything of it. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Now-
I think at heart you don't believe them.
I can't imagine a mentality that would send your child to death. In America, we tend to sacrifice ourselves for our children.
Refer to my earlier comment about if it's in your Bible, it's a whole different ball game.
That's true.
And according to the Quran, the only way to get to heaven is to kill an infidel.
That's true.
And
You bring your family with you if you're a kid.
And they want to get all those Virginians once they get there.
I'm a Virginian. They ain't getting me.
Pat, you wanted to dig us out of this hole.
I wanted to talk about Cracker Barrel. I have enjoyed watching the new CEO, this Julie Fells Massino, who was on what is that Good Morning show with Michael Strahan. What's the name of that show?
Good morning.
Good morning? All right. She was explaining to him how they were rebranding Cracker Barrel, and he asked her, he said, if the customers of Cracker Barrel come back at you and say they don't, because she had announced the logo had changed, they got rid of the Cracker Barrel and the old cracker sitting next to it. He said, if the customers come back at you and want you to change it back, would you do it? And she goes, hee, 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 hee. Well, let me give you another sound bite. She says, I was recently in Orlando, and we had a meeting. We do this once every other year. All the Cracker Barrel managers were there, and the question that I got asked the most was, when can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list? She says, we're just having amazing feedback. Well, like one of the podcast guys said, was somebody going to come up to the CEO and say, hey, you suck. I don't want to remodel. But they took all the tchotchkes down and they painted it white.
Right.
And they changed the furniture.
Inside.
No more rocking chairs.
But
No,
they
the rocking chairs
they-
are outside.
No, they've reneged on the logo. They put it back to what it was.
That's what I said.
But the inside is not the same anymore.
No.
Oh,
Now, I'm in a totally racial statement, and I can't remember where I read it because they said the new logo first has removed the barrel and the cracker. Because the cracker was the derogatory term.
Well, actually, it was a Cracker Barrel. There
I
used
know,
to
I
be
know.
a Cracker
There used to be-
Barrel.
But again, they reversed it and said they removed the barrel and the cracker.
Yeah, well, that was supposed to be a joke.
Yes.
well,
but it's-
I'm just thrilled that they went back to the original logo, and hopefully they haven't messed up too many of their restaurants.
They've spent $700 million on this upgrade. $700 million, and that was before they redid the logo. Now, I went online last night to see if they changed the menu. They have changed the menu some. It didn't look like it was catastrophic. They added a couple things that actually sounded like they might be pretty good. But I can't imagine sitting in that whitewashed room with the little black furniture
Yeah.
where you could be sitting anywhere.
Like a cafeteria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a K&W cafeteria.
Yeah, it
No
looked like a
checkerboard, no
cafeteria.
checkerboard in there anymore?
They left the game.
But they changed,
The peg game.
they changed
game.
the
Changed
Yeah,
the peg game.
The peg game is now down to 3 pegs.
they changed the sayings on the peg so that you wouldn't feel bad when it doesn't
When you
say
lost.
you're an idiot. Yeah, it doesn't say you're an idiot
says-
anymore.
Did
It
you
says,
see?
don't worry, try again.
Did you see what Baxter's did?
No.
They did a spoof on Cracker Barrel, and they said that they were stopping due to the command, stopping the new signage that they were going to put up, and they'll bring back the clock.
That's funny.
Can I bring up a different subject?
Sure.
Now,
Wait a minute, I haven't finished on Cracker Barrel.
Go finish. Yep.
Okay, here's the deal. This started in 2023 when this Julie first showed up, and it was all about the gay people. They had Pride comes to the front porch of Cracker Barrel, and they had this big deal where, for the gays, for Cracker Barrel to welcome the gays. And they've been doing that for 2 years now. And so now Cracker Barrel has all these interior trainings. They've hired transgenders to wait on your table. This is not the Cracker Barrel that I stopped at in the past. And yesterday I was listening to a podcast, and this guy said he got thrown out of Cracker Barrel, and they said, "How'd you do that?" And he said, this guy came to their table and said, "Hi, I'll be your waitress today. I'm Denise." And he said, "You look like DeNephew."
It looks like Cracker Barrel is taking lessons from Bud Light.
Exactly. After Bud Light and Jaguar and Target.
Right.
You don't have to make your own mistakes. You can learn from other people's
That's right, exactly.
mistakes.
Yeah, duplicate somebody else.
Well, they also pointed out she was wearing those big glasses that all the progressive women wear, and said as soon as you saw her in those glasses, you knew she had screwed up Cracker Barrel.
Now, I'm going to swap quickly to President Trump has also executive power outlawed burning flags.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we know that that's a First Amendment. It's already been adjudicated in the courts.
Yeah, but the EO says if it leads to other crimes.
Yes. And the leading to other crimes, the bottom line that I saw was back up 6 months ago, 8 months ago, if you even criticized a transgender or a LGBT flag or whatever else, that was considered hate speech. And now they're talking about, still burning flags, and they're going to do it. Well, guess what? That's going to get classified as hate speech.
Well, burning a gay pride flag, depending on where you are, could get you 15 years in jail.
Yeah. So
shouldn't the American flag have equal rights?
Apparently, burning a gay flag is not protected speech, according to the Supreme Court. So therefore, you can burn it, but then you're going to have to defend yourself in court. It'd be interesting to see that argument made.
Okay. Where do we want to go next?
Well, we wanted to talk about articles continuing that were in the Daily Haymaker regarding Michael Whatley and the RNC and their meddling in the primary and funneling him money and basically anointing him as a senatorial candidate in North Carolina. And I last week talked about the money that's going to be from a fundraiser that the RNC is supporting, that
Co-sponsoring?
Co-sponsoring, as I perceive that as an endorsement, and they are getting around that, quote, loophole by saying that this kind of event, the money that is raised there, isn't necessarily for Michael Whatley, it's for the Republican Party, and that whoever wins the primary will get that money. So if that is true, I'm saying the grassroots needs to stick with Don Brown. They say that Don cannot beat Cooper. Well, they talked about it all being connected with how much money Don Brown had in his war chest compared to what Whatley's got in his war chest. I'm saying if this money goes to the primary winner, Don Brown can have some money in his war chest. And I'm sick and tired of the elite rhinos picking our candidates. And people need to do their research and look at Michael Whatley's resume, look at Don Brown, look at his resume. Don Brown has written books. He's worked with General Flynn. He's been involved in J6
cases, yeah.
I'd like to point out at this point that we don't endorse candidates.
you're right, but as an individual, I'm speaking. I'm not speaking for CCTA, but as an individual, I'm saying that the grassroots people need to do their own homework and look at what has Whatley done when he was in charge. What has he done?
Kim, one of the things that I ran into recently, and I don't want to give details, but someone who I would regard as influential in the Republican Party was speaking to a group as if Whatley was already the candidate.
He's anointed.
And that really bothered me. I didn't say anything, although someone with me did make a remark. But we're up against the establishment here. And the last time we were up against the establishment, we elected Hassan Harnett to lead the North Carolina GOP. And the establishment got rid of him within months. It's time for the grassroots to speak up and speak out and say, we get to choose the candidate.
And I just want to add to what Kim was sharing. I think most of the time you were saying RNC, which is an issue, but this is NCGOP is the bigger issue in this arrangement.
Well, on the invitation, the money, it said the senatorial thing. But Whatley's also gotten $62,000 from the RNC, directly from the RNC.
Well, and RNC can give him money, and that's not as big an issue to me. It's North Carolina party leadership.
And based on what we call the plan of organization, this
True, but my point was how much money in the war chest. My argument is I think Don Brown can get the financial backing he needs to run against Cooper.
Yes.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, the whole scheme seems kind of fruity because they're raising money during the primary that can't be used during the primary.
True.
Right, that's true.
That's pretty fruity.
that does not compute.
But what it does is it says, here's who we want, the people at the top. You know, it sends a message.
Oh,
Whatley's
yeah.
the chosen one.
Exactly.
And so that's a big accomplishment for them, unfortunately.
What office has Whatley ever been elected for as far as being a, quote, public servant?
The NC GOP.
The local chair, the chair of the state.
And he won it the second time by having a faulty electronic voting process.
Yeah, this is a situation where if he wins the primary, we are going to be told, vote for him or the Democrats will get the Senate. We heard that with Tom Tillis, and we saw how that worked out.
Okay. Folks, on that note, we're going to wrap the show up. Again, thank you for listening. This is CCTA Wake Up Call. Have a great week.